Hello Internet, my name is Tom and today's video will be the first in a series I'm calling My Bikes, in which I feature vintage bikes that I've collected over the years. The first bike that I'm going to show you is my Schwinn 564 aluminum bike. This bike has a pair-mount frame. I purchased it in 1989 at a local bike shop, and as I recall, I paid about $550 for it. This is not the oldest bike I own, but it is the bike that I have owned the longest. The bike came originally with Shimano X-Age LX Sport components, and I believe these brake levers are the only X-Age components left on the bike. The original rear derailleur on this bike was a 7-speed. In the early 90s, I upgraded it to the Shimano 600 8-speed derailleur. The Shimano 600 was the Ultegra of its day. The rear derailleur on this bike is a Shimano HG41 with a gear ratio of 11/30. I had read somewhere that the Shimano 600 of that time would take a 30-tooth cog, and since I live in Utah and like to climb, I wanted all the help that I could get. The wheels are Mavic M2s and the hubs are Shimano 600. The original derailleur on this bike lasted until just this year. I took it out for a ride and the spring on the derailleur broke, so I replaced it with a Shimano 105 that I had in my parts bin, and it's working very well. The original crankset on this bike was, I believe, a 5242, and it was a Biopace crankset. I'm 71 now, and as I've aged, I just can't push the big gears anymore, so I replaced that with a compact crankset, a 5034, and that works well for me, especially since I like to climb the Utah mountains. And the pedals are Shimano SPDs. I prefer those because I seem to be able to get out of them more quickly if I need to bail. And I believe they give a little more range of motion, so I don't have to worry about my knees. The seat post on this bike is original. If any of you have ever owned one of these older Schwinn aluminum bikes, you'll know that the seat posts were prone to cracking. I haven't had that problem, but I set the seat height in 1989 and I've never changed it, and that could be the reason why it's never cracked. Also, at this point, due to galvanic action, I suspect I wouldn't be able to move the seat post even if I tried. The original seat, I believe, was a suede leather-covered seat. Never was very comfortable. Several years ago, I found a seat that fits my sit bones well and is comfortable, and I use that on most of my bikes. It's a Velo D2. The bag is the original bag that came with the bike. They threw that in with the purchase. The shifters are down tube Shimano 600 8-speed indexed. While the frame is aluminum, the front fork is steel. It does have a nice rake to it, which allows for a little bit of comfort in what is normally a harsh ride on aluminum framed bikes. The tires on this bike are Hutchison Nitro 700/23C. That's rather small in this day and age. However, this bike was made at a time when small tires were king, and you'd be hard-pressed to get anything much larger than a 700/28 to fit in the forks. I've enjoyed this bike over the past 30 years. I still ride it on occasion, though not as frequently as I used to. I think in part due to the down tube shifters. I much prefer brifters and trigger shifters in this day and age. I have considered having it stripped down and powder coated and restoring it, but I've decided that both the bike and myself have plenty of flaws that we've developed over the years, and I'm just going to keep it as it is. I hope you've enjoyed this glimpse at one of my vintage bikes. If you have any questions on anything I may not have covered, leave it in the comments below. Thank you.